AITA for refusing to take my wife back after her manipulative friend ruined our marriage? I am 35 years old. I live just outside of Denver, and I have just finalized my divorce from my wife, Rachel. We were together for 6 years and married for 2 of them. Looking back, I tell myself I should have seen this catastrophe coming. Honestly, the red flags were there from the very beginning, but I chose to ignore them because I loved her, or at least, I thought I did. The primary crack in our relationship had a name. It was Vanessa, Rachel's best friend. Have you ever met someone and just known, deep in your gut, that they were going to be a problem? That was Vanessa. She was loud, self-absorbed, and possessed an insatiable need to be the center of attention. From our very first meeting, I felt her sizing me up, as if she was cataloging my flaws to use against me later. But Rachel was completely blind to it. To her, Vanessa was her lifelong friend, her confidant since their college days at Boulder, and the one who had seen her through everything. I told myself I could put up with her because she was important to Rachel. But my God, Vanessa had a talent for pushing every single one of my buttons. Things truly began to spiral during our wedding preparations. I proposed to Rachel after we had been dating for 3 years. We were already living together in a small starter home, and it felt like the natural next step. She was ecstatic, and frankly, so was I at first. Then Vanessa started inserting herself into every decision. It started with the small details. She declared our color palette of navy and sage was too basic. I paid it no mind. Who really cares about the colors, right? Then, she criticized our choice of caterer, insisting we absolutely had to provide extensive vegan options because, in her words, half the guests would surely prefer them. In reality, we had maybe 2 vegan guests. And the grand finale was when she demanded to walk down the aisle before the bridesmaids so she could have her own special moment. Yes, you read that correctly. Vanessa wanted her own entrance at our wedding ceremony. Her justification was that she was there for Rachel through all her bad breakups and all the tough times. She claimed this day was also a celebration of the people who supported her, not just the marriage. I honestly thought it was a joke at first. Who could seriously ask for something like that? But Rachel was nodding along, ready to concede. I watched her fold right in front of me. I tried to step in. I told her that this was our wedding, not a stage for Vanessa's one-woman show, and that her sister being the maid of honor was enough. Rachel got defensive, accusing me of making a huge deal out of nothing. Vanessa, for her part, played the victim. She said she did not realize her future husband was so controlling. The comment stung, but instead of defending me, Rachel caved. She told me later that it was just a small detail, and if it made her happy, there was no harm in it. As a result, Vanessa got her big moment. She marched down that aisle like it was her own coronation. I could feel the disapproving stares from my parents in the front row, but I gritted my teeth and smiled for the pictures. I told myself that once we were married, this kind of nonsense would stop, and that Vanessa would lose her influence over our lives. It was a massive mistake. After the wedding, Vanessa did not fade into the background as I had hoped. On the contrary, she embedded herself even deeper into our daily lives. Every time Rachel and I made plans for the weekend, her name would pop up like a recurring notification. Rachel would say she already told Vanessa she could come with us, or that Vanessa thought we should try that new restaurant downtown instead. It was as if we could not make a single decision without her input. I tried to talk to Rachel about it gently at first. I told her I understood they were close, but I felt like Vanessa was a little too involved in our marriage and that maybe we could establish some boundaries. Rachel immediately became defensive. She said Vanessa was her best friend. She could not just push her away, and I did not understand everything she had done for her. Maybe I did not understand. I was not there for those college years or her past heartbreaks, but I could clearly see that Vanessa had zero respect for me or our marriage, and that Rachel refused to see it. I wanted to believe that Vanessa was not intentionally trying to cause harm. Maybe she just did not know how to step back. But deep down, I knew. Vanessa did not like me. It was obvious. And the more she intruded, the more glaring it became. I do not know why I did not put my foot down sooner. Maybe I wanted to avoid arguments. Or maybe I was afraid of pushing Rachel away. But it was a mistake. By remaining silent, I allowed Vanessa to believe she had every right to interfere in our relationship. And by the time I realized just how deep her claws were, it was already too late. About a year after our wedding, Rachel and I had found a comfortable rhythm. Work, date nights, and quiet weekends binge-watching shows. It was not perfect, but it was a peaceful life. Until one Friday night, Vanessa showed up on our doorstep in a flood of tears, looking as if the world had just ended. We were about to make tacos and watch a movie. I was in the middle of dicing onions when the doorbell rang. Rachel went to get it, and within seconds, I heard sobbing. I peeked my head into the entryway. Vanessa was clinging to Rachel like a shipwreck survivor. She had a duffel bag slung over her shoulder, and mascara was streaming down her face. She wailed that he had left her, and she could not be alone right now. Rachel guided her inside, shooting me a look that communicated we would talk about this later. I stood there, knife in hand, completely thrown. Vanessa collapsed onto our couch, repeating over and over that her boyfriend Brian had dumped her via text message, claiming they just were not compatible. Of course, Vanessa swore she had been the perfect girlfriend and that Brian was an emotionally unavailable coward. Rachel asked her in a soft voice if she had a place to go that night. Vanessa sniffled, glancing at me before answering that she could not go to her parents' house because they would just say they told her so, and all her other friends were busy. She claimed she did not know where else to go. I could see exactly where this was going, and I was not happy about it. Naturally, Rachel turned to me and asked if I minded if Vanessa stayed here for a few days, just until she got back on her feet. What was I supposed to say? I could not exactly tell a distressed person she could not stay. So, I nodded and forced a smile, agreeing to it. At first, I tried to be patient. Vanessa was heartbroken, and I understood that. For the first few days, I gave her space and let Rachel tend to her. But by the end of the week, it was clear that a few days was turning into an indefinite stay. Vanessa was not just staying with us. She was taking over our home. The guest room, which Rachel and I always kept neat and tidy, had become a disaster zone. Clothes were strewn everywhere, including on the floor, the bed, and the chair. Empty coffee mugs and takeout containers were piling up on the nightstand. It looked like the room of a teenager going through a crisis, except Vanessa was 34 years old. She essentially set up camp in the living room, spending her days watching reality television at full volume while sprawled on the couch. On 2 separate occasions, I came home from work to find her there in her pajamas, eating chips directly from a family-sized bag without so much as looking up. A simple greeting was mumbled between crunches. The kitchen did not fare any better. Vanessa could not really cook, but that did not stop her from trying. The problem was that she never cleaned up after herself. I would wake up in the morning to find the sink overflowing with dirty dishes and half-eaten leftovers abandoned on the counter. I tried talking to Rachel about it. I told her one evening that I knew Vanessa was going through a tough time, but she was treating our house like a hotel, and it was not fair to us. Rachel sighed, visibly torn. She said she knew it was frustrating, but Vanessa had nowhere else to go and just needed a little more time. I asked how much longer we were expected to put up with this, considering it had already been 2 weeks. Rachel hesitated and promised to talk to her. But when she did, it was pointless. Vanessa expertly flipped the situation, playing the victim. She dramatically apologized if her presence was a burden and offered to leave if that was what we wanted, with tears welling up in her eyes. Of course, Rachel rushed to reassure her, saying it was not that at all, and we just wanted to make sure she was okay. It was infuriating. Vanessa knew exactly how to manipulate Rachel, and Rachel fell for it every single time. The final straw came about a month later. One Saturday morning, I went into the backyard to grab some tools for a small deck repair project I was working on. To my astonishment, I found my power drill, my circular saw, and several other tools scattered across the patio. Vanessa was sitting in the grass with a pile of scrap wood that she was painting in garish neon colors. I asked what all this was, gesturing at the mess. She looked up, completely unbothered, and said it was for her therapy. Her therapist had suggested she do something creative to process her emotions. I blinked and pointed out that she took my tools without asking. She shrugged and said she did not think I would mind. I was done. I turned on my heel and found Rachel in the kitchen. I told her in a firm, resolute tone that Vanessa had to go. I made it clear I was not asking for an opinion anymore. This was a decision. Rachel looked at me, startled by my tone, and asked what happened. I told her Vanessa was treating this house like her personal playground, that I had been patient, but this was not working anymore. Rachel sighed, rubbing her temples, and agreed to talk to her one more time. But this time, I did not let Rachel handle it alone. I sat down with both of them and laid it out plainly. I told Vanessa we had done our best to support her, but it had been a month, and this was no longer sustainable for us. I said she needed to start looking for another place to stay. Vanessa did not take it well. She accused me of being heartless and of not understanding her pain. She snapped at me, glaring, saying I was kicking her out when she was at her lowest point. I did not let it affect me. I clarified I was not kicking her out that day, but she needed to leave, as we had given her more than enough time. Rachel looked conflicted, but for once, she did not rush to Vanessa's defense. A week later, Vanessa was gone. She stormed out, muttering that I had always been a tyrant and that Rachel deserved better. As her car drove away, a massive wave of relief washed over me. For the first time in weeks, our house felt like our own again. But deep down, I had a sinking feeling that Vanessa was not finished with us yet. The real damage began on an ordinary Saturday afternoon. Rachel had gone out for brunch with Vanessa, as she often did. I was not happy about it, but I had stopped commenting on their get-togethers months ago. What was the point? Vanessa was always going to be in Rachel's life, no matter what I said. I stayed home, enjoying the quiet while I took care of some chores. Nothing exciting. Groceries, laundry, and cleaning the garage. When Rachel got home, I was in the kitchen putting away the groceries. I greeted her like I normally would, but something felt off. She barely made eye contact, just mumbled a hello before walking straight into our bedroom and closing the door. I stood there, holding a carton of milk, trying to figure out if I had done something to upset her. Maybe she was just tired. I shrugged it off and continued with my tasks. For the rest of the day, Rachel was extremely distant. She avoided my gaze, gave one-word answers, and spent most of her time scrolling on her phone. I asked her a few times if something was wrong, but she deflected each time with a curt statement that she was fine. She clearly was not fine. I assumed Vanessa had unloaded more of her usual drama and that Rachel just needed some time to decompress. But that evening, things took a stranger turn. She barely touched her dinner and went to bed early. When I joined her later, she was curled up on the far edge of the bed, facing away from me, pretending to be asleep. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. The next morning, I decided I had to address it head-on. I asked Rachel seriously what was going on, noting she had been acting weird ever since she got back from brunch the day before. She hesitated for a moment, still not looking at me, then said she needed to ask me something and needed me to be completely honest. I agreed, my stomach churning, and asked what it was. She finally turned to face me, her expression a painful mix of anger and hurt. She asked if I was with someone else the previous day. I blinked, completely blindsided, and asked what she was talking about. Her voice grew sharper. She said Vanessa told her she saw me in a parking lot, in my car, kissing another woman. For a second, I did not know what to say. The accusation was so absurd, I almost laughed. But when I saw the dead seriousness on Rachel's face, my disbelief turned to frustration. I told Rachel that was ridiculous, that I was not with anyone, and that I was at the grocery store. Rachel shot back that Vanessa described my car, knew I was wearing my brown jacket, and even knew the exact parking lot at the strip mall over on Main Street. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. I explained that I was at that strip mall because that is where the King Soopers is located. I insisted I was not kissing anyone. I was buying milk and bread. Rachel crossed her arms, her eyes narrowed, and asked why Vanessa would say that. That question infuriated me. It was not a question of whether she could have been mistaken. It was a question of why she would lie, as if lying was something Vanessa was incapable of. I told her I did not know, my voice rising, and suggested she ask Vanessa because I did not do anything wrong. But she was not listening to me anymore. She whispered that she did not know what to believe, shaking her head, and said Vanessa would not lie about something this serious. That sentence hit me like a punch to the gut. She did not know what to believe. After 6 years together, she was taking Vanessa's fabricated story over my word. I stood up, pacing the room. I reminded her she had known me for 6 years and asked if she really thought I would cheat on her in a supermarket parking lot, of all places. Rachel did not answer. She just sat there, staring at her hands. She finally said she needed some time to think, her voice barely audible. The following days were a special kind of hell. Rachel barely spoke to me. She moved into the guest room, claiming she needed space. Every time I tried to talk about it, she shut me down, saying she was not ready to talk or just needed time. Meanwhile, I was walking around in a fog of anger and disbelief. I could not stop thinking about Vanessa. This was exactly the kind of chaos she thrived on. But I could not understand the reason. Why go this far? Why tell such a destructive lie? Did she really hate me that much? At the same time, I could not ignore the deeper problem, which was Rachel's reaction. The fact that she did not even give me the benefit of the doubt spoke volumes about the state of our marriage. If her trust in Vanessa was stronger than her trust in me, what did that say about us? A week later, Rachel packed a suitcase and left. She did not even tell me where she was going, just that she needed to think everything over. I did not fight her. At that point, I was too emotionally exhausted to argue. The next morning, I received a text message from her stating she thought it was best if we separated for now and that her lawyer would be sending me the papers. And that was it. No conversation, no attempt at resolution, just a text message and the mention of a lawyer. It was as if our entire life together had been erased by one ridiculous story. I did not even know how to react. Part of me wanted to fight, to prove my innocence, to make Rachel see the truth. But another part of me was just tired. If she was willing to throw everything away this easily, maybe this marriage was not worth saving after all. In the weeks that followed, things got even worse. News of our separation spread, and Vanessa made sure everyone heard her version of events. Our mutual friends started acting strange around me, avoiding eye contact or making vague comments about how I should take some time to work on myself. Even my own family asked me uncomfortable questions, wondering if there was any truth to what people were saying. I felt like I was living in a constant state of accusation. Everywhere I went, I was reminded of how quickly people can turn on you. And through it all, Rachel remained silent. No calls, no texts, no outreach of any kind. At first, I was furious, angrier than I had ever been in my life. But as the days turned into weeks, that white-hot anger cooled into something harder and more resolute. If Rachel did not trust me enough to even have a conversation, then maybe I did not need her in my life. I was not going to beg for the belief of someone who so clearly did not have any in me. She could take all the time she wanted to think. She could stay under Vanessa's spell. I was done fighting for a marriage where I was always ranked second to her so-called best friend. If this was how it was going to end, then so be it. 2 months after Rachel left, on a Thursday evening, something completely unexpected happened. I was at home, eating a quiet dinner and scrolling through my phone, when a text message from an unknown number popped up. It read that her name was Lauren. She knew Vanessa lied about me and asked if we could talk. I froze, staring at the screen. The name sounded vaguely familiar. I thought maybe she was a friend of a friend I had met once. But why was she texting me now? My first instinct was to ignore it, but her choice of words piqued my interest. I texted back asking what she was talking about and what lie she meant. Her reply was almost instantaneous. She said it was about the cheating, that Vanessa admitted she made the whole thing up, and that she thought I needed to see the proof. The next day, I met Lauren at a small coffee shop downtown. She was already there when I walked in, sitting by the window and nervously tapping on her phone. I sat down across from her, feeling a mix of apprehension and hope. She thanked me for meeting her, her voice a little shaky, and said she was not sure if I would want to talk. I replied that I was there and asked what she wanted to show me about Vanessa's lie. She took a deep breath, unlocked her phone, and opened up a text conversation. She explained she had been friends with Vanessa for a long time, but after this, she just could not stay quiet. She handed me the phone, and I started to read. The messages between her and Vanessa made my blood run cold. Vanessa wrote that she could not believe Rachel finally left him, and that she totally believed her. Lauren asked what she was talking about. Vanessa replied that she told Rachel she saw him kissing some girl in his car, and that her face was priceless. Lauren asked if she was serious and why she would do that. Vanessa's response was that he was a controlling jerk, Rachel was too dumb to see it, and she was just helping her. I kept scrolling, my hands trembling with rage. It got worse. Vanessa texted that their marriage was never going to last anyway because Rachel was so gullible and believed anything she told her. Lauren replied that this was sick. Vanessa brushed it off, saying Rachel was better off without him, and at least now she would not have to listen to her go on about her perfect marriage anymore. I could not read anymore. I handed the phone back to Lauren, my jaw clenched so tightly it ached. I asked, my voice hoarse, if she actually said all that. Lauren nodded, looking genuinely upset. She confirmed it and said Vanessa was bragging about it like it was some kind of victory. At first, she did not want to believe her, but when she started making fun of Rachel for being so naive, she realized how twisted the whole thing was. I sat there, trying to process it all. Vanessa had not just lied. She had deliberately and maliciously sabotaged my marriage, and then she had laughed about it. She had manipulated her supposed best friend out of pure jealousy and spite. I asked Lauren why she was telling me this now, and why she did not say something sooner. Lauren looked down at her latte. She said she did not know, that she was scared because Vanessa could be really vindictive. But she could not live with herself if she kept it a secret, as it was not fair to me or to Rachel. I took screenshots of the messages and thanked her for having the courage to come forward. On the drive home, I replayed the conversation over and over in my head. I was furious. Furious at Vanessa for her cruelty. Furious at Rachel for so readily believing the lie. And furious at myself for tolerating Vanessa's behavior for so long. But more than anything, I felt validated. For months, I had been living under a cloud of suspicion and unearned shame. Now, I had definitive proof that I had done nothing wrong. Vanessa had orchestrated the entire thing, and Rachel had walked right into her trap. When I got home, my anger shifted into a cold, clear sense of purpose. I was not going to have an emotional outburst. No, I was going to handle this calmly and methodically. First, I forwarded the screenshots to my lawyer with a brief message stating this was the truth and asking how it impacted the proceedings. Then, I sat with my phone, hesitating before texting Rachel. A part of me did not want to. What was the point? She had already shown me where her loyalty was. But another part of me felt she deserved to know the truth, even if it changed nothing between us. After a few minutes, I typed that we needed to talk, and it was important. Her reply came faster than I expected, asking what I wanted. I kept my response short. I told her I had proof that Vanessa lied, that we could meet, and she needed to see this. There was a long pause before she finally agreed to meet the following afternoon. I suggested the park near her new apartment, and she agreed. I had no intention of trying to win her back. That was not my goal. I just wanted to set the record straight and clear my name. Part of me wanted to throw the proof in her face, but I knew I had to remain calm. The last thing I wanted was to give her any reason to think I was reacting out of anger. When Rachel arrived at the park, she looked hesitant and almost nervous. She was dressed in her usual hoodie and jeans, but she lacked her former confidence. She saw me, gave a timid wave, and walked over. She asked what this was about, crossing her arms defensively. I did not waste any time. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots from Lauren, and held it out to her, telling her to read it in a flat voice. Rachel gave me a puzzled look, then took the phone. At first, her expression was neutral, but as she read, it began to change. Her eyes widened, her mouth fell open, and by the end, she looked absolutely sick. She handed the phone back, her hand shaking. She whispered that she had lied, speaking more to herself than to me. I replied in a controlled tone that yes, she lied about everything. I explained that she invented that whole story to break us up, and apparently, she found it amusing. Rachel sank onto the park bench next to me, her gaze fixed on the ground. She softly said she had no idea and did not think Vanessa was capable of doing something like that. I interrupted, my voice harsher than I had intended, pointing out that she did not think she was capable of lying to her. I told her that was the entire point. She did not think. She did not take a single second to question it. She just accepted her story as fact and threw me under the bus. She flinched at my words, but did not respond. I asked her if she had any idea how humiliating the last few months had been. I told her our friends, my family, and even people at my job looked at me like I was scum, all because she could not be bothered to give me the benefit of the doubt. Tears started to well up in her eyes. She choked out that she thought she was doing the right thing, that Vanessa had been her best friend for years, and she trusted her. I told her coldly that her trust just cost her her marriage. Rachel looked up at me, tears streaming down her face, and apologized in a broken voice, swearing she did not know. I replied, my voice softening slightly but remaining firm, that she did not know because she never gave me a chance to tell my side. I told her she trusted her more than she trusted her own husband, and that said everything I needed to know about how she viewed our relationship. We sat in silence for several long minutes, the weight of the truth hanging in the air between us. Finally, Rachel spoke again. She quietly said she was cutting Vanessa out of her life and would never speak to her again. She pleaded that we could fix this, go to counseling, and work through it, promising to do whatever it takes. I sighed, running a hand through my hair. A small part of me wanted to believe her, but the truth was, the damage was done. She had chosen Vanessa over me without a moment's hesitation. I told her I did not think we could fix this. I explained it was not just about what Vanessa did. It was about how easily she believed her and the complete lack of faith she had in me. That is not something you can just repair. Rachel broke down completely. She sobbed that she was stupid, that she should have talked to me and trusted me, and begged for just one more chance. I shook my head and told her I could not do it. I explained this was not just about forgiveness. It was about trust, and once that is gone, it is nearly impossible to get back. She continued to cry, and for a fleeting moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered all those nights I had spent alone, wondering what I had done to deserve this. I remembered all the friends who had turned their backs on me because they believed Vanessa's lie. I remembered all the times I had doubted my own worth because Rachel had discarded me so easily. And in that moment, any compassion I had evaporated. I stood up and told her I thought it was best if we went our separate ways. I said I wish things had been different, but this is where we are now. Rachel did not try to stop me. She just sat there, crying into her hands as I walked away. I did not look back. For the first time in months, I felt like I was finally in control of my own life again. Later that evening, Rachel sent me a long, rambling text message, apologizing profusely and begging me to reconsider. I did not reply. There was nothing left to say. Vanessa's lie had been the catalyst, but the real issue was Rachel's failure to trust me. At that point, I had no interest in trying to fix something that was so fundamentally broken. Instead, I forwarded the screenshots to a few of the mutual friends who had been quick to judge me. I did not add any commentary. I let the messages speak for themselves. Within hours, my phone was buzzing nonstop with apologies and messages of support. One friend texted that they could not believe Vanessa did that. Another wrote apologizing for doubting me and saying I did not deserve any of this. It was nice to finally have my name cleared, but I was not interested in rekindling those friendships. If they were so willing to believe the worst of me without a single question, they were not people I needed in my life. As for Vanessa, I never bothered to confront her. What for? She had already shown the world who she was, and I was not going to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. A few days later, I started to hear things through the grapevine. Some of our old friends, likely out of guilt, had decided to keep me in the loop. One of them, Allison, called me. She told me I was not going to believe it, but Vanessa was totally alone now. Apparently, once the truth came out, everyone started dropping her. Lauren had shared the screenshots with a few key people, and the story had spread like wildfire. Vanessa tried to defend herself, claiming she was just trying to protect Rachel from my toxic behavior, but no one was buying it. Allison said she was completely spiraling and almost laughed while telling me. She said Vanessa was posting long essays on social media about how everyone betrayed her and how she was the real victim. Out of morbid curiosity, I looked up her profiles using a private browser. Sure enough, there were long, rambling posts about fake friends and how her only crime was caring too much. In one post, she actually wrote that she guessed some people could not handle the truth, that she stood up for her friend when no one else would, and now she was the bad guy. She called it pathetic. The comments were brutal. People were calling her out directly, telling her she did not help anyone. She destroyed a marriage out of jealousy, and this is what happens when you manipulate people. They suggested she look in a mirror before blaming everyone else. Seeing that provided a certain grim satisfaction. Meanwhile, Rachel's life was not faring much better. She had moved back in with her parents after our separation, and from what I heard, the environment was tense. Her mother, who had never been a fan of Vanessa, was furious when she learned the truth. A mutual friend told me she had overheard a shouting match where Rachel's mom yelled at her, asking how she could be so foolish to throw away her marriage to a good man because of a pathological liar. It was harsh, but not entirely wrong. Rachel was trying to piece her life back together, but it was not going well. Her attempts to reconnect with our old friend group were met with a lukewarm reception. Some were willing to forgive her, but most kept their distance. They had seen how quickly she had turned on me, and were not eager to put themselves in a similar position. Allison told me one day that she looked miserable. She said Rachel tried to pretend she was okay, but you could tell she regretted everything because it was written all over her face. A few weeks after that, Vanessa lost her job. Lauren, who still worked at the same company, sent me a short text message to let me know she was let go that day. Apparently, her reputation had followed her into the office. Word got around about what she had done, and her colleagues started to avoid her. She had always thrived on office drama, but this time, nobody was playing along. Her boss finally intervened and let her go, citing ongoing interpersonal issues. I would like to say I felt bad for her, but that would be a lie. She had spent years manipulating people and creating chaos. She was finally reaping what she had sown. As for me, my life was steadily improving. One day, several months after the dust had settled, I ran into Lauren at that same coffee shop. We ended up chatting for a while, and she filled me in on the latest development. She rolled her eyes and told me Rachel actually reached out to Vanessa a few weeks prior. I asked what happened, genuinely curious. Lauren explained that from what she heard, Rachel tried to apologize and said she wanted them to move past it. But Vanessa just laughed in her face, told her she was pathetic for crawling back, and told her to stay out of her life. I just shook my head, caught somewhere between amusement and disbelief. I said that did not surprise me because Vanessa was incapable of taking responsibility for anything. Lauren offered a small smile and said they both kind of got what they deserved. Looking back, I cannot say I am happy about how everything went down, but I am grateful for where I am now. The toxic dynamic between Vanessa and Rachel was a ticking time bomb, and I just happened to be the collateral damage. But in the end, their own dysfunction destroyed them both, and I got to walk away and start over. It is funny how things work out. Karma might not be instant, but when it finally arrives, it does not pull any punches. Vanessa learned that the hard way, and honestly, I am perfectly fine with that. They made their choices, and now they are living with the consequences. As for me, I am moving forward. I have built a life that makes me happy, surrounded by people who have my back, and deep down, that is the best revenge I could have ever asked for. Comment. Reading this story really made me reflect on the true meaning of trust and the foundation of our relationships. It is a powerful reminder that our inner peace should never be compromised just to keep the peace with others. Setting healthy boundaries is not an act of selfishness, but a necessary step to protect your well-being and self-respect. When people show you who they are through their actions, the kindest thing you can do for yourself is believe them and walk away from toxicity. We cannot control how others behave or the choices they make, but we have complete control over who we allow into our lives. Healing begins the moment you stop fighting for a place in someone else's life and start building a safe space of your own. True friends and supportive partners will always communicate openly and give you the benefit of the doubt instead of rushing to judgment. I hope this serves as a gentle reminder to evaluate the energy you keep around you and prioritize your emotional safety. You absolutely deserve to be surrounded by people who respect your boundaries, honor your truth, and bring genuine light into your world. Thank you for spending your time here with me, and I hope you always find the courage to choose your peace. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.